So where we left off, let's listen to the rest of the 911 tape.
Is there anybody in the house besides you and your children? He's helping me, but he's dead. Oh my God. Okay. How many little boys? Is it 2 boys? Okay, listen to me. Calm down. Go ahead. 5801 Eagle Drive. 5801 Eagle Drive. It's going to be a stabbing. When is he going to be here? Ma'am, they're on their way. Oh my God. 235. Ma'am, how old are your boys? What? How old are your boys? No. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, calm down, can you? Is your name Darlie? Yes. Is your husband's name Dan? Yes, please. God, they're taking forever. There's nobody in your head. You don't know who did this? There's a knife. Don't touch anything.
And there it is. She says, there's a knife, don't touch anything. And Darlie immediately says, but I already touched it. So she wanted to really iterate that her fingerprints were going to be on that knife. Now, Tom Bevel, the blood spatter analyst guy, there was one piece of evidence that was on the floor, and it was blood evidence from the knife, and you could see the outline of the knife. And they came to the conclusion that it was when she put the knife down on the ground and leaned over to check and see if the oldest boy, the first boy that she had stabbed, was breathing or not. And it made that imprint into the ground, onto the carpet, right next to this child. The other child had, this is the thing that got me the worst part of the whole case to me, were the pictures of this tiny little blood print, hand print in blood on this white carpet right next to the couch where she was sleeping. Now, she said that her throat was slashed on the couch. Here's the problem. When you look at the crime scene photos taken of the couch, there's no blood on it. There's a little bit of blood on her pillow where she was sleeping, but it had been moved by the time the pictures were taken, because it looked like there was quite the struggle that went on in the living room where these children were killed and she was stabbed. But you've got to believe, if you want to believe the intruder theory story, you have to believe that a man showed up at their house with the intent to kill, but didn't bring their own weapon. I watch a lot of Dateline. I watch a lot of true crime. I watch a lot of this stuff because it's what interests me. And you just don't hear very often of somebody who's going to perpetrate a crime or kill somebody, but they don't bring their own weapon. They don't usually use a weapon from inside the home, is what I'm saying. It happens. Yeah, it happens. But very rarely does it happen. It doesn't happen often, okay? It just doesn't. And you have to believe that this person came in, killed 2 little boys, slit their mother's throat, and left without leaving one iota of a trace that he was there. It's like he flew in and magically did all this and then flew out. There was no blood leading beyond the entryway or the utility room entryway and exit. There was a little blood there, but it was all Darlie's. And I know you'll hear on a lot of other podcasts and a lot of other videos for this, that the reason that they're holding out hope is because there was one fingerprint that they found that doesn't match anybody in the house. It doesn't match Darlie. It doesn't match the boys. It doesn't match Darren. It does. It matches Darlie. They did in 2020, last year, they did analysis on that fingerprint. They did touch DNA and got from the epithelial cells that were left by the fingerprint that they were female. It was female DNA. And with the touch DNA, there's only one there's only one female. It's Darren and the boys. There's one female that lives in that house, and that's Darlie. It's Darlie's fingerprint. So if you hear that on anything else, and I know that a lot of people really play this up hard, there's this fingerprint that doesn't match anybody. It does. It matches Darlie. It matches Darlie. So they're trying to get an appeal right now. I don't see an appeal. I don't think she'll get an appeal, and I don't think she'll get a new trial. She was tried perfectly and by the law the whole time. The entire trial was done by the book. Those prosecutors would prosecute this case anytime, any day. They just know that they can do it because all the evidence stands up, and there's no evidence saying that there was an intruder. Not one iota of evidence says there was anyone else in that living room besides Darlie, Devin, and Damon. Period. Even, there for a while, I even thought maybe Darren, the husband, was involved, but I really don't think that he was. I don't think that he was involved at all. And it just blows my mind how incredible it can be for, people she sat on death row for 25 years, professing her innocence. I did not kill my child. I did not murder my children. That's what she continues to say over and over again. But her story's changed so many times. She took the stand in her own defense, which was not a good idea. She was a better witness for the prosecution than the defense. Anytime she got caught in a lie, she would make up something new that she hadn't told anyone else about why said evidence was there. It just makes no sense to me. She tried to kill the littler one, I believe, early on. A month after that happened to the 7-month-old Drake, and she had wrapped him way too tight, suffocating him in his blankets, she wrote a suicide letter to the boys and said she was going to take her life. Now, these are the things that kind of had me, I'll tell you the things that had me kind of on her side. The motive for this is extremely weak, if there is a motive at all. And I've done a lot of research, and the motive just doesn't strike me. It definitely wasn't for insurance. The boys had $5,000 apiece. It cost $13,000 to bury them. So they had to use all of that money to bury the boys. So it wasn't for money. They say she wanted her lifestyle back because through the entire trial, they tried to use character assassination on her, which I don't think should be used. It should be only by evidence, but the thing that convicted her, and most people think, is the silly string video, and that's definitely a character trait thing right there. There's no real evidence that, that's not evidence, other than she's a callous, cold human being who didn't care about her children. And that's what it looks like. But we can never say, if we were in that predicament or we were in her shoes, how we would handle that. I don't know how I would handle it, but I can promise you I wouldn't be chewing gum and dancing on the grave of my child or either one of my children 8 days after they died. I wouldn't be able to get out of my bed. I would not be able to function. And so you have to give a little credence to that. But there was no motive. There was, Darlie she had the baby blues, what they call, postpartum depression. I had a little bit after I had Gabby, but not a lot. I didn't with my son at all. So, I've never really had it, had a little bit of it, but wasn't to the extreme of hers. Can someone snap in the middle of postpartum depression and kill their kids? I guess. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. But I feel like, for somebody to go from being an upstanding member of society, she had her first speeding ticket, which was only 6 miles over the speed limit, a month before these murders. That she just snaps one night and's like, "No, I'm going to kill my kids." For a normal mother that has 2 children, that I adore more than life itself, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that one. I also have a granddaughter, and if anybody harmed any of them, that would be the only way I would be capable of harming or hurting someone, is if someone hurt my family. And I don't think I would. I'm just not driven to that. I'm not that kind of person. And it's hard to realize what could have been the motivation for this. What was her motive? They really couldn't come up with one in the trial, other than they assassinated her character and said she was a floozy, and the boys were getting in the way of her lifestyle. They were having money problems. They were financial problems. They lived in a very affluent part of a suburb of Texas called Rowlett. It's kind of like any ritzy little suburb of any city that you live in. Most cities have the main city, like Dallas. I live in Oklahoma City, and we have affluent places like Edmond and Moore. They're suburbs of Oklahoma City, very close to Oklahoma City, but they're kind of upscale. More is more so. These days, because it's been hit by 4 F5s in the last 20 years. So it's basically been wiped off the map and rebuilt. And that's where I grew up. I know a lot about Moore. I was born and raised in Moore, Oklahoma. I had left by the time the first tornado in 1999 hit, but they're affluent, more upscale, up-class type suburbs. And that's what Rowlett was. And he had a really good computer business, and they were doing really well. They had a boat. He had a Jaguar. But during this time frame, they found out that Darren had hit up some of his friends and some people to come and steal his Jaguar and do all of these things so that he could make a false insurance report, or, to get the money back and make a false insurance report. Basically, somebody come in and steal this stuff. And here's the thing. Even if it was a botched one of those, say one of his friends said, okay, I'm going to go over there and rob Darren because he said he'd give me some money when he gets his money from his insurance. So I'm going to go ahead and go over and do that at 2:30 in the morning. There was tons of jewelry out on the counter that belonged to Darlie, like over $10,000 worth of jewelry that was not touched. Wasn't touched. So if somebody had said, oh, I'm going to go over there and steal that stuff so that I can, at 2:30 in the morning, which some of her supporters say it had to be the person that Darren got to do that. They didn't steal anything. So how can you make a report and fraudulently do it to insurance if you didn't steal anything? You just decided to go in and brutally murder 2 innocent little boys and try to kill their mother. The only thing I can figure out with her is, and Bobby, Gabby, and I'm going to do all of this and run down all of the information that I have. And then tomorrow or Monday, Bobby, Gabby, and I are going to do a round table of our tripodcast for this case and tell you what we think. But what I think, when it comes down to whether or not she had a motive, the motive is, in my opinion, just for the fact that she was overwhelmed by having 3 children. She had a 7-month-old, a 4-year-old, and an almost 7-year-old. And, if you have very many children, I only had 2. They were 4 years apart. It didn't seem to bother me. I was pretty young. She was young, 25 when this happened. Maybe she was just overwhelmed. Why kill your children? I don't know. She could have let somebody take them for a while. She could have let somebody adopt them. I'm sure those kids would have picked anything other than being killed. But it's a flimsy motive. It really is. And the motive is the only thing that still just sticks in my gut every time. And I go out and say, I think she's absolutely guilty. Why did she do it? It's just, there's got to be a reason. But in the entire case, you just can't find what that reason might or might not have been. There's a lot of forensic evidence, and I'm going to put out a second video because this is going to be way too long to do like one video, and I will do it in probably later on tonight or in the morning and upload it right behind this video. So be looking for that. I've covered most of the actual evidence that happened the night of the murder. I'll get into some of the evidence that was presented in trial in the next video. And I'd really like to know what you guys think. Do you think she did this? I don't know. If you want to listen to a really, really good podcast, and I'm going to shout them out because it's where I got most of my information aside from reading the court transcripts, is the Prosecutor's Podcast. Those guys are fantastic. I love them. Head on over there. They have a 4-parter. It's a doozy. It took me almost 4.5 hours to listen to all 4 of the podcasts that they did, and they did it back to back. So you could get all 4 of them. It's Prosecutor's Podcast. They are real prosecutors in real life and came up with some amazing stuff, which I will go over in my next video on this case. But let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel about this. I've got a lot more to cover. This is just scratching the surface, but I'd like to know what you think. Let me know. And I guess I will see you guys next time. Thank you for liking and subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you know when I upload videos. Thank you to my manager, Nikki. And I will see you guys on the flip side of tomorrow. Okay. Have a great night, guys. Bye.